I don't know, I don't talk about this often, but I've mentioned it a couple times in the vlog, both Wine Library,
yes,
my family business, and VaynerMedia were built out of horrible crashes.
Yes.
You know, I got involved in Wine Library full-time in '99, and just as I started getting going, 9/11 happened and the 2000 crash happened, and VaynerMedia was started in 2009, right on the back of all the issues. So for me, I'm a big fan of this, and I will say one other tidbit. There's a lot of youngsters who are watching who are on the flip side, are not sitting with debt, who are making some money being influencers, have found themselves into some quick 50, 100,000, nothing will turn $50,000 in cash into millions of dollars quicker than a bust.
Yeah, absolutely
so
right.
let me.
Well, a bust that you participate in.
Well, right. So like,
so
that's right. So here's something you might find this interesting.
Yeah.
I am sitting on more cash, and not because I've made more. I am actively sitting on cash right now because my hope is that there is a meltdown and I can buy things for 20 cents on the dollar, 5 cents on the dollar.
How long have you been in cash?
About a year and a half.
Yeah. So you're a perfect person to chat with because I would have had the same mindset before.
Yes.
After interviewing all these people, I learned some really interesting facts. First of all, trying to time the market.
Impossible.
Yeah, and Warren Buffett said,
impossible.
Hey, listen, all these market forecasters you see on CNBC, he said their whole purpose in life is to make fortune tellers look good. Because no one can do it.
That's exactly right.
I can't do it.
That I know.
So, but logically you say, I'm waiting for the crash because it's going to come. But while people are waiting.
People are making money. 100%.
Unbelievable amounts of money.
100%.
250% since 2008. How about just since November with the president, it's 14.5%, right?
So tell me how I'm doing this wrong or right. What I'm also doing with the rest of my activity, because it's not it's a piece of my wealth, I'm being ultra aggressive and driving the other way there and playing on both sides of the extreme.
Yeah, I get it. The whole
so like not
secret,
real estate or like,
The whole secret is diversifying, obviously.
That's it.
And knowing where you're strong and where you're weak. But what people should know about the market, because it's really important, the stock market has provided, you and I know a million people that have made a fortune and then go broke.
That's right.
Whether it be an athlete or an actor or anybody.
Unlimited people.
Because no matter how, you never, what's his name right now? I just saw 50 Cent just went bankrupt. He made $100 million on vitamin water because he got a tip. He made like $400 million and broke. He's about to go through the divorce. What's his name? Pirates of the Caribbean.
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp made $750 million, $750 million, and they say he's going to go bankrupt now. He spent $30,000 a month on wine, so you should have got him.
I got a couple pieces of that.
But the point of the matter is, you don't earn your way to a fortune. The way you have a fortune long term is you make money your slave. You and I have done it through multiple businesses, right? But the other way to do it is through the investing. And I always tell people, no matter how great your business is, you should have a money machine on the right side of you with no employees, with no moving parts. It takes 15 minutes a year once you know what to do. That's what this is. But let's talk about the market for a second. People wait to try to time the market.
Yes.
So watch this. And first of all, you get a correction every year. People are overreacting, and I tell people the market never took a dime from anybody. Only you did that because you got fearful.
Yep.
So last year, since 1900, 116 years, we've had an average of one correction a year. Correction, by the way, for people who don't know, it is when it goes from a market high, you drop by 10% up to 19 and 99%, because at 20% or more, it becomes a bear market or a crash, okay? So we get one of these every year. So last year in January, worst January in the history of the market.
I remember.
$2.2 trillion meltdown.
Yep.
People are freaking out. Market drops 900 points in a day. All the wealthiest people in the world are at Davos. They go interviewed Ray Dalio, the #1, hedge fund guy in the history of the world.
And
a large hedge fund's 15 billion, he's 165 billion. You need a $5 billion net worth and 100 million to talk to him.
Yep.
I got him to share with me. They put him on TV. They say, what do we do? Is the end coming? He goes, it's a correction. He said, go read Tony Robbins' book. I explained a theory of how I made 85%.
Did you sell some copies there?
Sold like crazy.
You're like, yes.
But I got him to give me the answer.
Yeah.
He's made money 85% of the time in 75 years. But here's what you need to know. 80% of those corrections never become a bear market. They all correct back, just like last year. But if you sold, you lose.
Of course.
But then let's look at the crash. Crashes happen every 5 years on average. We've gone 8 without one. That's why we're due for one. And you're right to be somewhat prepared. But while you're preparing, there's opportunity that's happening because, first of all, every bear market lasts on average a year, goes down 33%, but you don't lose 33 unless you sell it.
That's
Here's
right.
the one thing I want people to hear. In 2 centuries of American business, every single bear market was followed by a bull market. So you remember 2008, people lost 50%.
This is where
69%.
This is where Buffett wins. Buffett's got
talks about
Buffett is it's such a great concept. I believe in it so much, which is Unless you're betting on America disappearing, you will win.
For centuries.
That's it.
And we're
That's the punchline.
we're going to keep growing. And by the way, every month on average, we have a new high. So when you hear it's high, oh my God, it's going to crash, it's high. But let me give you one more.
Please.
This is the timing, and this will maybe the payoff for you. Payoff is, I just did the JP Morgan Alternative Investments Conference in Miami. You have to be a billionaire to attend. You have to prove it with your net worth. There's 400 people there. It's an amazing group. JP Morgan did a 20-year study, and Schwab did one also separate. They found in the last 20 years, the S&P 500 gave you an 8.2% return. So you're doubling your money every 9 years. Pretty cool thing. But what they found was, if you were out of the market on the 10 best trading days in 20 years, instead of 8.2, you got 4.5, almost half as much money. If you miss the top 20 days, trading days in 20 years, 1 day a year, you're doing what you're doing, trying to be the right timing, you got a 2% return. You might as well bet bonds. If you miss the top 30 days, you lose money.
Makes a ton of sense.
In 20 years.
Makes sense.
So the most difficult, the dumbest thing you can do is be out of the market, not you.
No, I get it. I'm plenty in the market.
Plenty in the market.
Because I believe in it.
And then also being prepared.
So Tony, listen, first of all, one of my favorite things about you from afar, we get to hang once in a blue moon, random calls here and there, but from afar, you know what I love about you? You fucking hustle. In a world where you might not have cash and where you might have debt, or if you're not even in debt, you just don't have a lot of cash. Talk to me about somebody sitting with $10,000, which, by the way, for a high percentage of this is still a ton.
Correct.
But is there anything that, if they have $1,500, should they be out of the market? Like, what do they, like, I know we're going very, very, very micro here, but I actually want to bring value. My payoff is actually bringing value to everybody watching. Go ahead.
Same thing. I give an example in the book here.
And I'm going to take a phone call. Get ready for phone calls. Chris, you ready? All right.
So, forget just the $10,000. What matters is the system you put in place. The shit you do randomly every now and then because you got money is not going to help you much, right? So
especially if it's a fucking fat whip or a watch. Yes. I don't even want to start.
So the number one most important financial decision for everyone watching, everyone in this room, really, we all know you got to become an owner instead of somebody that is constantly, utilizing products. In other words, if you have an iPhone and you don't own Apple, what's wrong? You're a consumer. You're not an owner. You got to become an owner. How do you do it? Every person in this room has got, regardless of whether you think you have the money or not, to make the most important financial decision, which says to be an owner, I have to take a percentage of my income, and no matter what, off the top, automate it so I don't see it, put that in an investment account. Now, what's the number? You might say, I can't, Tony, I'm starting my business, I'm strapped. I tell all business owners the example of a gentleman, true story, Theodore Johnson, 1950s, works for UPS, guy never makes more than $14,000 in a year. He retires with $71 million. He gives away $35 million while he's still alive.
So good.
How is that possible? A friend of his did what we're teaching. Comes to him and says, I'm gonna make you rich. He goes, I'm not rich, I make 14 grand a year, right? He says, I'll make you rich, I'm gonna put a 20% tax on you. He goes, what are you talking about? I can't pay my bills as it is. He said, listen to me.
Adjust.
If the government gave you an additional 20% tax, you'd bitch, you'd yell, you'd scream, and you'd pay it because you have to and your brain adjusts. But that money goes in this investment account. The compounding of that account made him $70 million and he never made them $14 million.
Andy, do you have Facebook stock? Because of all the chatter we always have in here? Like that's the punchline, right? Like we know, because we live in this world for the last 3 years, I've been yelling and Andy will tell you, not yet, that just buy, we know Facebook's underpriced. Like that's narrow.
But here's what you gotta be careful of. And this is something Ray Dalio taught me, one of the smartest men on the face of the earth. He said, Tony, I don't care what it is you know. You're gonna invest in what you know because you have certainty.
Of course.
Right? Whatever you know is gonna drop 50 to 70% sometime in your life.
That's right.
And he said if it's later in life,
which is why diversity matters.
That's why the diversification matters. But let me give you the guys here watching.
But let's talk about that for a minute. And Ray's right. Like that's just non-debatable. That's
totally
data.
Yes.
It is interesting to see where.
You don't want what I'm saying is you don't want to just own Facebook.
Of course not.
You've got to have across the board
because
you say, I want to have the best one, I want to have Facebook.
There is an interesting debate that if you're actually knowledgeable about a sector,
and
you're only putting $2,000 to $4,000 a year to work, that's an interesting debate.
It's an interesting
and by the way, Netflix and Amazon,
when you're this young, you can also be more heavily oriented stocks. You can take more losses because you have more time. But think of it this way. Just go back to compounding as a simple example. Guy in here, I talk about the book, 19 years old. Dad convinces him to save $300 a month, $4,000 a year. So it's within the range of anybody here you're talking about, right? Guy starts at 19, stops doing it at 28. He only puts in 35 grand. He puts it in the market. The market's grown 10% over 30 years, but let's use 8% to be more conservative. Last 20 years has been more 8%. At 8%, that'll grow to 941,000 without another dime. He'll have $1 million off of $50,000.
You're preaching.
But on the other hand, his best friend waits till he's 29. He does the same thing and he but he has to keep investing to 65. He puts in almost 180 grand. He doesn't get the million.
Yeah,
bucks.
the math is
gotta
the
be
math.
there.